It was in the heart of the flourishing town of Roswell, Georgia, where the story of Kate and Richard bloomed. They were that couple who had heads turning with admiration and hearts melting with envy. Words like complementing each other and perfectly matching often hovered around them, sketching a delightful picture of their camaraderie. Richard, an accomplished investment banker, had the allure of unapproachable suavity, while Kate, a successful children's book author, radiated a charm that was disarmingly genuine. They had been married for a decade, a relationship marked by sparkling chemistry and enduring companionship, and their beautiful suburban home echoed tales of their shared joy. Amidst the laughter of grand parties and quiet whispers of intimate conversations, their love story was an inspirational novella the town folks cherished. Richard frequently traveled for his demanding job, returning with exotic tales and endearing trinkets. Kate, in contrast, filled the silence of his absence with imaginatively spun tales of adventure and suspense. But underneath this beautifully penned stream of everyday life, there were subtleties that began to invade Kate's tranquility. Her intuition, the cornerstone of her author's imagination, was slowly gnawing at her, raising questions about Richard's sporadic changes in behavior. Laughter that faded a moment too soon, affection that sometimes seemed forced, phone calls taken in hushed tones, subtle yet unsettling signals that suggested something was amiss. With each goodbye kiss and welcome hug, the mystery deepened. Her trust was beginning to wobble, slowly but surely making room for suspicion. Little did she know, her world was on the brink of a shocking revelation. Richard and Kate were like poetry in motion. Their love story was like a well-remembered ballad, often recited in the community, the dashing financier falling head over heels for the sprightly writer at a charity event, a whirlwind romance, and a dreamy wedding, realizing a beautiful narrative that was their life together. They built their idyllic world brick by brick. They bought a quaint little bookstore, a shared dream coming true. Richard handled the finance, and Kate brought in her magical touch by organizing storytelling sessions and promoting local authors. Life was a beautiful dance of love and shared responsibilities. The bookstore was their shared haven, a place that echoed their love story, their shared dreams, and their joint success. That was life before the incidents, a montage of beautiful moments, marred by the growing shadow of doubt. But beneath this well-curated happiness emerged red flags. When they first appeared, Kate dismissed them as stress-related, result of Richard's demanding job. The clandestine phone calls, the fleeting brushes of anxiety over Richard's face, the meticulously guarded secrets, they gradually began chipping away at Kate's trust. Then the announcement of Richard's impending business trip arrived. He was to be away for a month this time, far longer than his usual trips. As Richard kissed her goodbye, the unease was too substantial to ignore. The golden hues of the setting sun outside their house wove an intense goodbye as he disappeared from view. Kate was left with a cryptic fear that this farewell was more than just a temporal absence. Her intuition, stronger than ever, whispered that the man she waved goodbye to was carrying far more than just a suitcase. He carried secrets, the keys to a truth that will shatter their picture-perfect life. The ache of uncertainty gnawed at her as she retreated into their house, the chilling sense of foreboding seeping into her bones. As Richard's plane vanished beyond the horizon, Kate was plunged into an abyss of chilling silence, speckled only by the growing symphony of doubts. Her emotions swirled into a whirlpool of trust, fear, love, and suspicion. Her mind was a battleground, torn between the fidelity she'd always known and the alarming signs that she'd ignored too long. The unending silence from Richard's end only fueled her trepidation. Calls were left unanswered, texts met with meager responses, and his stories about his trip were peppered with inconsistencies. These weren't the tales of adventure that he usually brought back. They were a jigsaw puzzle of profound unease and apparent deception. Driven by a desperate need for clarity, she found herself teetering on the edge of an investigative journey. Initially, it was just small things, tracking his location through GPS, checking his social media activity. Each digital footprint she traced fed her uncertainty, propelling her towards a terrifying truth she wasn't ready for. She began reaching out to friends and family, each conversation a veiled dance around her suspicion, each response widening the chasm of her doubts. She was living in two parallel worlds, a loving wife to the outer world and a suspicious investigator to herself. The wheel of her discomfort came full circle when the idea of betrayal had to be confronted. She spent a night grappling with this overwhelming possibility. Her heart revolted at the idea, but the mounting evidence was impossible to ignore. Her quest for truth was beginning to reveal colors her marriage that she had never imagined. Faced with this harsh reality, she began to prepare herself for the ultimate confrontation, discerning whether her doubting thoughts were, after all, just insecurities or a devastating tale of trust betrayed unraveling itself. In a spur of courage and desperation, Kate decided to embark on an unexpected journey confronting her fears. She packed her bags, boarded a flight, and set off to surprise Richard during his business trip. She hoped to find him there, and with him, the remnants of the truth she once knew. Upon arrival, she was instantly taken aback. Richard's hotel was not the corporate accommodation he'd often described. It was an idyllic resort, far removed from the city's hustle, a place reserved more for sweet nothings than business meetings. Kate felt her heart sinking into the abyss of panic and disbelief. She waited till dusk before she made her way to his suite. Mustering up the courage, she decided to face the unthinkable reality that loomed ahead. Her heart pounded as she stepped into his suite, only to discover Richard was not alone. There, right in front of her eyes, was a betrayal she had suspected but had hoped against hope was not true. The air thickened with intense emotion as she found herself standing face to face with a strange woman, the unexpected third entity in their decade-long love story. The moment hung in air, the silence echoing the magnitude of the betrayal. The sight, the sounds, too familiar yet remarkably alien, orchestrated the disheartening symphony of unfaithfulness. In the heated arguments that ensued, the truth fell around Kate like shards of glass, each piece stabbing the already agonizing wound. She confronted Richard, their shared memories clashing with the shocking present. And somewhere in between, her courage faltered, coming face to face with the magnitude of what she faced. The climax of their story was wrapped in a cocoon of raw emotions: broken trust, smeared love, and a betrayal that would forever dent their life's canvas. The woman who had once written tales of joy and love now faced a tragic narrative of her own. Mustered strength dropped, and tears broke free unbridled. Kate's world, as she knew, had just drowned in a sea of despair. The echoes of her sobs were now a poignant soundtrack of their once beautiful love story. Kate was thrown into a frightening abyss, pain and betrayal her only company. She woke up to a world bathed in deceit, her heart bearing the weight of Richard's unfaithfulness. Disheartened yet resolute, Kate braved the situation with a delicate blend of strength and vulnerability. In this taxing tumult of emotions, she realized the pressing need for tough decisions. She had to cut bonds that she thought were indestructible. It was a gruesome task, but essential for her survival. And so, with a trembling heart and an unwavering resolve, she set off on the path leading away from Richard's deceit. Kate sought both legal and emotional support. Days were filled with lawyer appointments, negotiating divorce settlements, and discussing custody of their beloved bookstore. Nights, on the other hand, were spent in therapy sessions that became her sanctuary amidst the storm of her heartbreak. She learned to navigate her way through the labyrinth of emotions, pain giving way to acceptance, betrayal soothed by understanding. From the lawyer's stark office to the therapist's warm embrace, Kate's journey to heal began. Gradually, the focus shifted from her broken marriage to her own well-being. The pain slowly dulled, replaced by a firm resolve to rebuild her life. She began to indulge in self-care through meditation, reviving her long-lost passion for painting. Mornings once filled with marital bliss were now devoted to sunrise yoga sessions. Nights once consumed by heartache became peaceful hours spent with her canvas. She began nurturing her social bonds. Friends who stood by her during the moments of her utter despair became her anchors. Casual invitations shifted into regular group meetings, rekindling old friendships and fostering new ones. Lifetime movies, wine nights, and heart-to-heart talks, though simple, were healing in surprising ways. In her pursuit of rebuilding life, Kate began shedding remnants of her past, one day at a time. She traded days of despair for moments of peace, nights of insomnia for sleep filled with dreams of a hopeful tomorrow. As she picked up the pieces of her shattered world, Kate created an inspiring tale of resilience, turning her tragedy into her strength. The brutal storm of heartbreak had wreaked its havoc until only the wreckage of Kate's once perfect life remained. But it was in this aftermath that her spirit, strong and unyielding, began its journey to rise from the ashes. Acceptance slowly crept into her life as a welcomed ally, serving as momentum for the healing process. With guidance from her therapist, she realized that forgiveness towards herself was paramount. She had done nothing to deserve the betrayal, and bit by bit she began disentangling her self-worth from Richard's deceit. It was challenging and sometimes unbearable, but she knew it was a battle she had to fight for her liberation. Embracing her new normal wasn't easy. Her reality was far from the dreams she painted as a young bride. But with time, she learned to walk the unfamiliar path, turning unknown terrains into a newfound comfort. In the wake of acceptance, rebirth was inevitable. Kate discovered the courage hidden in the corners of her resilience and decided to reopen the door to happiness. She began to relish the liberation in solitary existence, re-establishing her identity, not merely as Richard's wife or their bookstore's co-owner, but as Kate, the woman with an unwavering spirit. New opportunities greeted her as she stepped into her new phase of life. She considered exploring new career paths. Event planning caught her interest, promising some distance from her demure writing routine and allowing her organizational skills to flourish. Engaging in new relationships seemed like a distant dream yet, but Kate was willing to entertain the possibility. While the prospect of romantic relationships was still nerve-wracking, sowing the seeds of platonic bonds was significant in her healing journey. In moving forward, Kate evolved from the portrait of a betrayed wife into a woman who chose to confront her pain, brave through it, and emerge victorious. In the story of this unassuming woman from Roswell came a compelling saga of resilience and hope, teaching the world that new beginnings are indeed formed from the ashes of despair. In her heart-wrenching journey, Kate found a bag full of lessons about love, about betrayal, and about the potential strength of the human spirit against adversities. She understood that betrayal, as painful as it might be, was not the end of the line, not as long as she had the courage to keep going. Emotional healing, she learned, was neither instant nor linear. It was years of therapy sessions, tear-filled nights, and flashes of despair. But it was also a glorious journey of self-discovery, of unveiling resilience, and of harnessing hope amidst the darkest hours. Looking at the world through the lens of her experience, the future was no longer a terrifying abyss for Kate. It was instead a canvas of possibilities, a path paved with lessons learned and strength discovered. As she mapped out her future, she honored the cataclysm that brought her here and expressed profound gratitude towards the trying times for the woman it had carved out of her. Navigating past the emotional whirlwinds, Kate emerged not as a storm-stricken survivor, but as an intrepid conqueror, triumphant in her overcoming. And she believed it was crucial for her story to resonate, for every heart out there shattering in silence to know that they, too, could build themselves up from the ruins. To her viewers, she extends a heartfelt invitation. Share your story. You never know who might find solace in your journey. With a final plea for everyone going through personal turmoil, she reminds them, there's healing in sharing, strength in solidarity, and in every ending, there lies the promise of a new beginning.